My wife gave me rules to sign, told me if I didn't, our marriage was over. I didn't argue. I signed something else.
She dropped the papers on the table like a judge delivering a sentence. "Read them carefully," she said, crossing her arms. "If you want this marriage to continue, you sign." I picked up the stack slowly. It wasn't just one page, it was several. Typed, structured, and titled like a contract, not a conversation. It was a list of rules. Rules about who I could talk to. Rules about how late I could come home. Rules about my tone, my opinions, my money. Rules about what I was allowed to question and what was none of my business. At the very bottom, a blank line waited for my signature, a silent demand for my surrender. "If you don't sign," she added, her voice chillingly calm, "it's over." I looked up at her face. There was no anger, no sadness, just pure, unshakable confidence. For months, her friends had been in her ear, twisting the idea of boundaries into a weapon of control, convincing her that love was all about leverage. In her mind, she was winning. She was finally taking charge. "When did you write this?" I asked, my voice steady. "With my friends," she replied without a shred of hesitation. "They helped me realize my worth." I nodded slowly. I didn't argue. I didn't get angry. I didn't tear the papers up like she probably expected me to. I just placed them back on the table, neat and untouched. "I need some time," I said. She smirked, victory dancing in her eyes. "You have until tomorrow morning." That night she slept peacefully, dreaming of her new managed marriage. I didn't sleep at all. I sat in the dim light of the living room until dawn, not rereading her rules, but replaying the last 2 years of our life together. I saw the growing distance. The constant disrespect disguised as empowerment. The way my valid concerns were dismissed as insecurity. The way her phone had become an extension of her hand, a secret world I wasn't allowed to enter. This list of rules wasn't the beginning of the end. It was the final, formal declaration. It was the closing statement on a case that had been decided long ago. By morning, I knew exactly what I had to do. I signed, but not her ridiculous rules. Something else entirely. When she came downstairs for breakfast, she was already rehearsing her victory speech. "I'm glad you came to your senses," she said, reaching for the papers on the table without even looking at me. "This is going to make us so much stronger." I slid a thick envelope across the counter toward her. "These are signed too," I said. She frowned, her triumphant smile faltering as she opened it. Inside were divorce papers. Her face collapsed. "What is this?" she demanded, her voice cracking. "You said to sign or it's over," I replied calmly. I chose over. She laughed, a nervous, high-pitched sound. "Stop joking around. This isn't funny." "I'm not joking," I said, my gaze unwavering. Her hands started to shake as she flipped through the pages, her reality crumbling with each one. "You can't just do this," she stammered. "We need counseling." "You didn't even try to fix things." "I did," I said, the years of quiet effort finally finding a voice. "I tried for years. You just never noticed because my trying wasn't loud and dramatic. It was quiet and consistent." The accusations started flying. She called me a traitor, a coward. She said I was weak for not fighting for our marriage. I just listened. When she finally ran out of breath, I picked up her list of rules and tapped the first page. "You wanted a husband you could manage," I said softly. "You never wanted a partner." She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. The weeks that followed were ugly. Her friends, the same ones who helped write the rules, sent me a barrage of insulting text messages. She went on a smear campaign, telling everyone I was controlling, emotionally unavailable, and afraid of strong women. I didn't defend myself. I didn't try to correct her narrative. I knew the truth would reveal itself in time. Results always speak louder than rumors. What she didn't know was that while she was busy drafting rules to cage me, I was quietly organizing my escape. I had been separating our finances. I had made copies of all important documents. I had even secured a job transfer that was already approved. The man she thought she had backed into a corner had already unlocked every single exit and was just waiting for the right moment to walk through them. 3 months later, we met for mediation. She arrived like a CEO for a hostile takeover, dressed sharp, oozing confidence with the ghosts of her friend's bad advice whispering in her ear. She expected to walk away with half of everything, plus a healthy dose of public sympathy. She didn't get either. Clause by clause, her lawyer's arguments and her own expectations just fell apart. Assets she assumed were joint, weren't. Decisions she thought she had legal control over were never hers to make. The look on her face shifted from confidence to confusion, and finally, to raw panic. "No one told me any of this," she whispered, looking at her lawyer, then at me. I stayed silent. There was nothing left to say afterward. In the parking lot, she stopped me. Her voice was small, stripped of all its earlier bravado. "You really didn't love me enough to just sign the papers?" she asked, her eyes searching mine for an answer she could understand. I finally met her gaze. "No," I said. "I loved myself too much to let you erase me." Months passed. Her new, liberated life didn't unfold the way she had imagined. The friends who had cheered her on from the sidelines disappeared as soon as the drama was unentertaining anymore. She found that dating was harder than she thought. Men were not interested in a partner who wanted control without commitment. They were scared away by her list of rules. One night late, my phone buzzed. It was a text from her. "I think I went too far." I read the message and I put the phone down. I didn't reply. Not out of anger or spite, but because my chapter with her was truly closed. There was nothing more to add to the story. The funny thing about ultimatums is they only have power when the other person is terrified of losing you. The moment you stop being afraid, the ultimatum becomes nothing more than a piece of paper. I have never, not for a single second, regretted not signing her rules. Any relationship that needs a contract to keep one person small was already over long before the ink ever had a chance to dry. Walking away wasn't me losing a marriage. It was me choosing to keep myself. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever been in a situation where you felt you had to shrink to fit into someone else's life, I hope this gives you strength. Remember to subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories about finding your own path. Until next time.